Hi, this is Semachi Director. I want to show you a picture I found on the Crown Heights info site of Winnie Gourarie. I wrote and I made a video, the previous video, about Winnie and gave our family's tribute to Winnie and all she did for us when we were in South Africa. But I want to show you a picture I found of Winnie and her son. His name was Rabbi Yossi Gourarie. And the reason I'm showing that picture is because Rabbi Yossi Gourarie spent time in a place that means a lot to me. According to the information I have, he was the high holiday cantor at Chabad-Lubavitch in Rochester, Minnesota. Rochester, Minnesota, you must know, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with, is where the headquarters of the Mayo Clinic started, and it has a vast amount of medical personnel in that complex. Yossi Gourarie passed away from a terrible illness when he was only 58 years old, and I see here the time apparently was in April of 2016. The reason that it is so touching for me to read this is because I spent time visiting someone, my uncle actually, was very ill with, I believe, a similar illness to what Yossi had. I spent time in the hotel across the street from Saint Mary's Hospital, which is where I believe my uncle was. And I believe that in that hotel, we spent many hours, and I was consoling my aunt and my cousin Vicky, who I went to visit while their father, my uncle, was laying ill. This was at a time that Lubavitch hardly was making any inroads into the Midwest. Lubavitch was starting. Rabbi Moshe Feller, Rabbi Manas Friedman, and Moshe Feller's wife, Mindy, were all instrumental in creating a Chabad house in St. Paul. And when I left for South Africa, then suddenly I realized that there was a Chabad house that was in Rochester, Minnesota, which was not there when I went to visit my uncle. In fact, it was like a wasteland. There was no facility for kosher food, and I could just go to the hotel, spend time, I believe it was a motel, spend time with my aunt and and I was unable to obtain any kosher food at that time or have any access to any religious activities if I chose to do so. In other words, it was a real galus before Chabad came. I do not know of other organizations. I am sorry if I did not mention them because I was not aware of them, but I am very familiar with the activities of Chabad, especially when they were developing in Rochester. So the fact that Yossi Gourarie, Winnie's son, Alav Shalom, was part of that Chabad house, and he was the cantor. They said he was the high holiday cantor there at that particular time. It was very touching for me to hear that. It just showed that the Gouraries were not hesitant to go anywhere the Rebbe wanted, and were not hesitant to touch any life of any Jew anywhere in the world. So again, I want to pay tribute to Winnie Gourarie, her husband Shalom Bear Gourarie, for all that they've done for the South African community, And now that I've seen this report and gone back into history and realized where their son, Rabbi Yossi Gourarie alav shalom, was spending a lot of his time helping Jews in the area of Rochester, Minnesota, it was very interesting for me to see that. So again, I want to give my condolences to the Gourarie family, and one more time say, may Hashem comfort you, all of you, amongst the mourners of Tian in Yerushalayim.